Everything in Power Book 4. Force has been building toward one final moment, one final fight, and one final truth. Tommy can't run from anymore. Nobody is safe, loyalty is cracking. And every move Tommy makes now could be the one that decides who stands at the end and who gets buried. As the final season approaches, the biggest question isn't who Tommy will take down, but what he's willing to lose to win. From the outside, Tommy still walks like he controls the streets, but underneath that confidence, the pressure around him is tighter than it has ever been. Chicago isn't just another city for him anymore. It's a war zone built from every choice he's made, every alliance he's broken, and every enemy who's still waiting for a chance to strike back. And even though Tommy has always lived with danger one step behind him, this time it feels different. This time, the danger isn't just coming at him, it's closing in from every direction at once. Since stepping into Chicago, Tommy has become the spark that set the whole system on fire. He walked in alone, but he didn't stay alone for long. The streets saw his hunger and his drive, and they reacted. Some wanted to join him, some wanted to fear him, and some wanted to destroy him before he grew too strong. Now, all those reactions are crashing back into his life at the same time. He's standing in the middle of a game where every side believes they should win, and no side is ready to lose. The cracks around him are growing deeper each day. The gangs are restless, the alliances are shaky, and every group that once backed him now questions if Tommy is worth the risk. Chicago has its own rules, its own histories, and its own hidden power players who don't like an outsider changing the balance. Tommy didn't just challenge those rules, he rewrote them. And that means anyone who has ever held power in the city sees him as the biggest threat to their legacy. They know that if they don't stop him now, they may never be able to stop him at all. But the real pressure doesn't just come from the rivals he's made. It comes from the people standing closest to him, the people he once trusted, the people who once needed him, the people who now have their own plans, their own fears, and their own reasons to question Tommy's decisions. Loyalty in Chicago is thin, and survival is fragile. One wrong look, one wrong word, one wrong move on, everything he's built could collapse. Tommy has always been the kind of man who fights his way out of trouble, but this season, the trouble is coming from places he can't see until it's too late, and as if the streets weren't dangerous enough. The law is finally catching up. Chicago's police are tired of the rising violence. The feds have noticed the sudden shift in power. Every agency with a badge wants to know who keeps stirring the city into chaos. They're watching faces, tracking patterns, reading every They're circling Tommy without him even realizing how close they already are. In past cities, Tommy slipped through the cracks. But Chicago is different. Chicago remembers. Chicago holds grudges. And Chicago takes its time before it strikes. All of this builds a storm around, to me a storm, stronger than any he's faced before. He's not just running a crew now. He's holding together a city that feels ready to break apart at any moment. And the scary part is that some people don't want to stop the storm, they want to control it. They want to use Tommy's chaos to gain their own power. That makes him both the target and the weapon. Someone is going to pull the trigger. The only question is who gets to him first. Tommy has always believed he can handle anything. That he can outthink, outfight, or outlast anyone who stands in his way. But as the final season moves closer, the truth becomes harder to ignore. He can't outrun every enemy. He can't silence every threat. And he can't pretend the consequences won't catch up to him. The streets are shifting underneath him. The alliances are fading around him. And the enemies are gathering in the shadows, waiting for their moment. The final season won't just test Tommy's strength. It will test his limits. And Chicago is ready to show him that the biggest battles aren't fought with guns, they're fought with choices. Choices that can save him, or destroy him. Chicago has always been dangerous, but now it feels like the whole city is shifting under Tommy's feet. Every block, every crew, every power figure seems to be moving with a purpose, either to protect themselves, or to quietly push Tommy out of the picture before the season reaches its peak. What makes this part of the story so powerful is that Tommy doesn't even see the full picture yet. He feels the tension, he senses the danger. But he hasn't realized just how many people are slowly stacking their pieces against him. And in a city where information is power, this ignorance might be the very thing that puts him in the greatest danger of his life. Tommy has always worked by following his instincts. When something feels off, he reacts fast. But Chicago is different. The threats here don't always come with warnings. The plans don't always show signs. The enemies don't always move loud. Instead, they move quietly, watching him from a distance, waiting for the right moment, collecting every weakness they can find. And while Tommy is busy fighting the battles right in front of him, new threats are forming behind him, in rooms he has never stepped into and alliances he doesn't even know exist. This is the part of the story where the city becomes a character of its own, unpredictable, hungry, and ready to shift its weight on top of him. The streets that once opened doors for him are now closing them one by one. Some crews that used to respect his boldness now fear the chaos he brings. Others believe he's only loyal when it serves him, and they wait for the day he turns on them, just like he turned on everyone else in his past. Chicago isn't blind to Tommy's history. The talk spreads fast, alliances broken, partners gone, rivals buried. That kind of past doesn't just follow a man, it shapes the way others move around him. And bit by bit, people who once stood at his side begin pulling back, creating distance without ever saying a word. Even worse, the city's older power structures, the ones that don't show up on the news or in the open, are reawakening. These are the forces that view Tommy as a dangerous storm that wasn't supposed to hit Chicago at all. They never chose him. They never approved him. And now, they want to erase him before he reshapes the city beyond repair. These are people who move money, weapons, and influence without ever stepping into the street. They work through whispers, through quiet disappearances, through favors that never get spoken out loud. Tommy, for all his power, is a loud weapon in a quiet city, and the quiet ones are getting restless. But the real twist is that even the people closest to Tommy are struggling with doubt. They see the walls closing in. They see how every move he makes causes a bigger ripple. Some of them worry that standing next to him means sharing his fate, whatever that fate becomes. The final season will likely reveal these cracks in slow, painful ways. Maybe it's a close ally hesitating before backing him. Maybe it's a partner choosing survival over loyalty. Maybe it's someone making a secret deal, thinking Tommy will never find out until it's too late. Every show in the Power universe has taught us one thing. Betrayal never comes from the enemy you expect. It comes from the person you once trusted. Chicago's law enforcement adds another layer to this pressure. They're not just watching Tommy, they're watching the entire city react to him. Every crime spike, every gang shift, every sudden alliance points back to the same source. And once the authorities connect enough dots, they won't come after him with warnings or questions. They'll come after him with force. Slow at first, then fast, then relentless. Tommy has slipped through the hands of the law before, but this time the system feels different. Organized, focused, unified in a way he hasn't faced since New York. As the city turns darker, the tension grows heavier. Every person Tommy meets could be an ally today and an enemy tomorrow. Every deal he makes could be the one that saves his power or destroys everything he's built. And the scariest part is not that the city is turning against him, it's that it's doing it silently, without noise, without warning, just shadows. Closing in. Trust has always been the most dangerous currency in Tommy's world. But in the final season, it becomes something even more fragile, something that can crumble with the smallest push. And the most terrifying part is that Tommy doesn't realize how many of the people standing beside him are already questioning their loyalty. They may not say it out loud, they may not show it on their faces, but deep down they're starting to ask themselves a simple, deadly question. How long can I stand with Tommy before I end up buried next to him? For the first time in a long time, Tommy isn't just fighting enemies, he's fighting doubt. The kind that grows quietly, behind closed doors. The kind that starts with one small conversation and ends with someone making a choice they can't take back. Chicago's streets are full of whispers, and almost all of them lead back to one truth. Everyone knows Tommy is becoming too powerful, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to stand next to without fear. Every major player around him is at a breaking point. Some feel pressured, some feel ignored, some feel used, and some feel like they're only one mistake away from becoming collateral damage in Tommy's war. Diamond, for example, is a man who wanted order, stability, and control. But standing next to Tommy has given him the opposite. He sees the chaos growing every day, and he knows that chaos always comes with blood. Diamond isn't scared of Tommy, he's scared of how Tommy changes everything he touches. And deep down, he knows that if the city starts to crumble under the pressure, Tommy won't be the one who pays the highest price. The people around him will. Yina RD, on the other hand, has always carried resentment like a weight on his shoulders. Every time Tommy steps forward, Jennard feels pushed further into the shadows. His pride is wounded, his control slipping, and he's the kind of man who reacts when he feels cornered. Even if he doesn't strike first, someone will eventually convince him that the only way to reclaim his pride is by taking a shot at the man who stole the spotlight from him. And when that moment comes, it won't be loud or dramatic, it'll be quiet, calculated, and personal. Then there's Claudia Flynn, someone who never truly forgave Tommy for stepping into her world. She's smart, ruthless, and patient. She's the kind of enemy who doesn't need to attack you directly, she attacks the people around you. She looks for weak points. She studies your patterns. She learns what you care about, and then aims right at it. If anyone in Chicago has the mind to set up a betrayal that no one sees coming, it's Claudia. And the final season might be where she proves just how cold she can be, when she feels threatened. But betrayal doesn't start with violence, it starts with emotion. Doubt, fear, anger, jealousy, and all of those feelings are growing inside Tommy's circle. Some of his allies feel like he's pulling them into fights they didn't ask for. Others feel like Tommy's need for control is choking the strength of their own crews. A few even wonder whether Tommy actually cares about them, or if he just cares about winning. This is the danger Tommy has never been good at seeing. He understands enemies. He understands revenge, but he doesn't understand how quickly loyalty can turn into fear, and fear can turn into betrayal. He doesn't notice when someone stops meeting his eyes. He doesn't notice when a friend becomes distant. He doesn't notice when someone who used to stand in front of him now stands just a little behind him. And these small signs will matter more than ever, because in the final season, betrayal won't come from a stranger with a gun. It will come from someone Tommy knows, someone he trusts, someone who has stood beside him for too long, and finally reaches their breaking point. The final episodes will likely build toward that moment, the twist that flips everything upside down, the ally who makes the fatal choice, the friend who becomes the threat, the partner who finally decides that the only way to survive is to break away from Tommy before he pulls them into a grave they didn't choose. And when that betrayal hits, it won't just hurt Tommy, it will shatter him, because this time, the danger won't come from the streets, it will come from the heart of his own inner circle. Every war has a turning point, a moment where everything shifts at once. And the final season of Power Book 4, Force is building toward that one explosive moment that Tommy won't be able to escape. The streets are tightening around him, enemies are sharpening their strategies, and old wounds are being reopened in ways that force him to face parts of himself he's tried to bury for years. And the scariest part is this: the final twist won't just be about power. It will be about identity, about the person Tommy has become, and the person the city forces him to become in order to survive. As the chaos grows, Tommy starts to realize that every choice he's made has created a ripple he can't control anymore. He tried to build something real in Chicago, a kingdom, a legacy, a new path carved by his own rules. But with every move he made, he awakened more enemies, stronger grudges, and deeper fears. These forces don't just want him removed, they want him erased. They want his story ended before it becomes too big to contain. And as the season moves closer to its end, the city itself feels like it's preparing for a final answer to the question: can someone like Tommy truly survive a place built on old loyalties and unforgiving power? But the real twist isn't Chicago rising against him. It's the ghosts from his past that come back to challenge the man he thinks he is. Certain names, certain faces, certain memories start creeping into the story in quiet ways, building toward a reveal that could throw Tommy off balance completely. This isn't about a jump scare cameo or a simple return. This is about a shift in Tommy's world that forces him to confront the deepest parts of his pain, his rage, and his loneliness. He has always been the man who loses people, the man who buries his emotions just to keep moving. But the final twist might be the first time he realizes that running forward doesn't erase what's chasing behind him. In these final episodes, Tommy will likely face a choice that hits harder than any bullet ever could. Does he keep fighting until the city swallows him whole? Or does he finally walk away from the war he created? He's never been good at retreat. He's never been good at letting go. And he's certainly never been good at admitting that. Sometimes, survival means sacrificing the very thing you've been fighting for. Chicago forces him to question his future in a way that no city ever has. On that tension becomes the heartbeat of the final twist. Another part of the twist is tied to painful, complicated loyalty. Someone he trusts is going to stand in a moment where they must choose between Tommy's life or their own survival. And the choice they make will shake every part of the story. This isn't about betrayal for power. It's about someone being pushed to their emotional limit. Someone who loves Tommy or owes him, but can't keep bleeding for him. Someone whose decision will change how the entire audience sees Tommy's journey. But the biggest twist may come from Tommy himself, because the man we see at the start of the series, the wild, fearless, unstoppable force, is not the same man we get at the end. The final season pushes him into a corner where he has to think differently. move differently, and accept truths he spent years avoiding. He's forced to face the idea that he can't fix everything with violence. He can't force loyalty. He can't run from the past. And he can't build an empire while carrying ghosts on his back. The twist isn't just a moment. It's a transformation, a turning point that marks the end of one era of Tommy Egan, and the beginning of another. Whether that transformation leads to his rise or his downfall is the real mystery. The ending could crown him king of the city or leave him broken in the streets he once tried to rule. But one thing is certain. The final twist will hit harder than any betrayal, any shootout, or any war Tommy has ever fought. It will change everything we thought we knew about Power Book 4, Force, and everything we thought we knew about Tommy Egan. The final season of Power Book 4, Force isn't just building toward one simple ending, it's building toward a crossroads, where every possible outcome feels equally real, equally dangerous, and equally tragic. Tommy's journey has always been shaped by choices that carry heavy consequences. And now the weight of all those consequences is ready to crash down at once. This is the point in the story where every theory feels possible, every twist feels believable, and every ending could redefine the entire Power universe. The beauty of this moment is that the show has kept the future hidden so well, yet the clues are scattered everywhere, waiting to be connected. One possible ending is the one fans fear the most: Tommy's downfall. Not because he's weak, not because he's careless, but because every great empire built in the Power universe eventually demands a price. Tommy has been dodging death for years, surviving situations that should have ended him long ago. But the final season may be where fate finally catches up. Not in a dramatic showdown where he goes out guns blazing, but in a moment where the past and present collide so violently that even Tommy can't walk away. This wouldn't just be an ending, it would be a message. A reminder that in this world, nobody outruns the choices they've made. Another ending points in the opposite direction. Tommy rising above all of Chicago's chaos, and taking the throne completely, becoming the king he always believed he could be. In this version, he survives every betrayal, every ambush, every twist designed to break him. He learns from his mistakes instead of repeating them, and he finally builds an empire that doesn't fall apart under pressure. But even if Tommy wins, victory wouldn't feel clean. It wouldn't feel peaceful. It would come with scars, with sacrifices, with empty chairs beside him where loyal people used to stand. Power always has a cost, and if Tommy becomes the ruler of Chicago, he'll carry the weight of that crown alone. Then there's the emotional ending, the one where Tommy finally walks away. Not because he's scared, not because he's defeated, but because he finally understands that his entire life has been built on pain. Losing Ghost, losing Holly, losing Lakeisha, losing everyone he ever cared about. In this ending, he realizes that the only way to stop the pattern is to stop the war entirely. Maybe he leaves Chicago behind. Maybe he returns to New York. Maybe he disappears, choosing peace over power for the first time in his life. This ending would shock the audience not because it's loud, but because it's quiet. Because it shows a version of Tommy who finally chooses himself over the streets.